subsume your identity to, the larger group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, what's up, everybody? Kind of coming in. We're waiting on Mike Nels. He's still with Joe Walsh on Joe's Live. I can't wait to talk to Mike. I've talked to Joe. Joe is out there killing it every day. Like, I love Joe. So um, once we get Mike free, we'll go ahead and jump in and start talking about hopefully Epstein files and sort of his take on Texas redistricting, gerrymandering, and basically everything that Trump is trying to do to basically avoid talking about the Epstein files.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd love to hear Mike's take on how much of this is a liability for Trump. And it looks like it's a huge liability.
I think it's all a liability for Trump.
I
I think
think this is,
every single part of this is all a liability for Trump.
oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
Like he's one, maybe it's time we stop talking about him as the Epstein files. They're the Trump files.
Yeah.
He's all fucking over them. And he's the one who's alive who's trying to make it all shit go away. So fuck him. It's the Trump files. He's all over them. And if Texas is going to redistrict the fuck out of their state, blue states do the same. Like every
Yeah.
single blue state, every single governor in a blue state that does not have a constitutional amendment that they don't even have to worry about it. If we didn't hamstring ourselves in some of these blue states, go fucking redistrict them. So every single red person is stuck in a blue district, just like they do to all the blue people who live in red states.
If nothing else, it might get it to Supreme Court where basically they knock off all this crap.
Yeah. Force them to do it and do it with their own language. Like,
right.
I want J.B. Pritzker to basically take the language from the Texas bill and just turn it into his. Like, do that. Because then they have to face their own words against them and they can't defend those words in court.
They're talking about doing it in Colorado too. So I think it's like, I think Illinois, California, and Colorado. And I mean, Colorado's...
New York's talking about it too.
Oh, New York they screwed up their redistricting so bad. They gave, in 2020, more Republicans than, should have come out of New York. But I mean,
Tim Fullerton has a petition going around on the internet right now to get Governor Hochul of New York to redistrict the state and gerrymander the fuck out of it. Because the thing is, if they're going to do it and it's within the bounds of the rules, and if they keep saying it's within the bounds of the rules, to fucking use it. Like, use it in their faces, because when it comes back at them, they don't like it. And then they make the laws that actually, it's as Luke on the Find Out Pod says, it's the double-edged dildo that keeps fucking them. It's a double-sided dildo of consequences that just keeps fucking them, because they make these stupid-ass rules and then it just fucks them in the end.
Yeah, 100%.
So gerrymander the shit out of blue states, because it'll come back and fuck them.
Well, and that's the thing.
Is this like, a family show, Fred?
No. What I mean, honestly, with Trump at this point, what the hell is a family show? You know what I mean? So
I mean, he's a pedo, so there ain't nothing very family friendly about that guy.
Well, no. Well, yeah.
He's the pedant.
Well, yeah, and all the basically the way he's taught for the last 10 years, pretty much that's how it is, right? So but no, I mean, I think, like Colorado's Republican Party is pretty much done as a state party. Like it's been obliterated. So like at this point, I would love to see them gerrymander Lauren Boebert out of a district. Like that would that would just make my heart sing.
Just Beetlejuice her out of there.
Oh yeah, just get rid of her. Like
God, that would be fun. I think they should. I think, like I said, every blue state should. Even the states like Vermont, where it's a red governor, it's still a blue state. Like they could gerrymander. They don't even need to, because they only get the baseline reps and they're both blue anyway, and they've got Bernie. But like even Maine, maybe it's time Maine gets rid of Susan Collins, like on purpose, or or Washington State gets rid of their red districts, or Oregon gets rid of their red districts. Imagine that. Imagine if we actually had districts that voted on population percentage and like reality for those states right now, because they'll hate it.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's what they do back. They make land vote more powerful in states, so make cities vote more powerful than land, or people
I
more
mean,
powerful than land.
one thing we can't do is we can't play nice with this stuff, man. Like
No.
we can't sit here and say, "Oh, but then we would be just as bad if we did this." It's like, okay, if somebody's shooting at you, you return fire if you can.
Hmm.
You don't say, "Well, if we shot back, we'd be just as bad as them." No, you're just going to end up getting shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Rick
Bring a gun
Wilson.
to a gunfight.
That's
And
it.
sometimes, but the difference is somebody was arguing with me on TikTok on it, and actually multiple people have weighed in on this debate. Is bringing a like it's the idea of bringing a gun to a gunfight. Is they think I'm wrong because I put up a video about uh, Tom Cotton, our shitty ass senator here in
Yeah.
Arkansas, and saying that we just need to make him fear for his job. And people are all mad about Democrats and stuff, but they keep bringing up like they were like, well, why don't we out him as gay? I was like, no, we don't do that. We can attack his personality because you're a bigot, and there's plenty of stuff to attack him on that isn't who he is as a person. And they're like, but that's why Democrats keep losing because they're soft and they won't go there. I was like, no, I can I can very clearly say that Tom Cotton is an asswipe fuck nugget who needs to go fuck himself with the double-sided dildo of consequences and get his shitty ass carpet bagging fuckhead out of Arkansas. See, I can say those things. Did I mention sexuality? Did I mention bigotry? Was I bigoted towards him? No, I just hate him because he's got a shitty ass personality and he doesn't represent Arkansas. Like
Right.
that easy, bro. Like we don't need to fight about bigotry. Don't make space for hate. Makes
Yeah.
and but that's not me coming at a gunfight like a word fight with uh on a magic marker or an eraser that just can be written over. I came to say what I needed to say, and I said it loudly, but without their room for hate. We don't
I
open the
mean,
door to hate.
for me, I'm like, look, it's not our place to out this guy.
Mm-mm.
But if somebody he's had relations with wants to out him, that's their business.
Yes, that's your business, not mine.
Right.
And I won't attack him on that. I won't attack him ever on if he is, if, and this is all a big, we're just postulating on just hypotheticals here. But let's say some Republican senator or congressman who is vehemently against gay people is gay. I'm never going to attack them for being gay. I'll attack them for being vehemently against gay people that whole time because they were hurting a community of people for political points and they were hurting themselves.
Right. Right. 100%, dude. 100%. You know,
Yeah. How about this Epstein dude? Have you heard about Epstein? Uh
Epstein, man, I mean, I somebody mentioned Epstein to me. What's interesting about the Epstein stuff is
mhm.
that doesn't look like it is going away,
No,
Trump and
no.
Republicans. It looks like it is getting a lot worse for them. Because here's the thing. I mean, the interesting thing is like Trump has sort of been the master of getting us to chase the shiny, whatever outrage ball, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's this week it's the $200 million ballroom that he's going to put on the East Wing, or it's you
Which, by
know
the way, looks like a giant penis coming off the White House. It makes it look like a giant penis.
God, like I just what he's done to the Oval Office. My
He
God,
tore out the Rose Garden to do this. Like,
Melania wanted
he's
to do that in
literally
the first term. Like,
erasing Jackie Kennedy.
right. He tore out the rose garden, which for those of you who don't know, that is our national flower, is the rose. It is
Mhm.
it's the United States national flower. That's why we have a rose garden. But, it's Yeah, I like, but what's interesting is none of the distractions now are working.
Nope.
You know, and it's every time he opens his mouth, he makes it worse. Like so, it's the like the Virginia Guffrey stuff, right? When he talked about Epstein stole her,
Hmm.
and that's why he's
He's
upset.
mad.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like, so let me get this straight. You like, and Rick Wilson pointed this out. So a guy who can't remember the five people closest to him and gets their names wrong. You remember a 16-year-old Tao girl at Mar-a-Lago.
By name.
Yeah, by name, and that you knew like Jeffrey Epstein stole her from you.
And others.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's interesting. You
And you
know,
talk about not having the privilege of going to his island.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the thing about
The
like,
wording privilege, though.
yeah. I think the thing about Trump, man, is like, I think there's a part of him that it pisses him off that he has to be ashamed of being basically a pedophile, of
Hmm.
sleeping with these young girls. It makes him mad, where that he has to pretend that this isn't something you should be able to do, right? Because again, we're talking about a sociopath. We're talking about someone who hates the fact that he's got to, like, what do you mean I can't sleep with a 14-year-old girl?
Hmm.
It's like interesting. And that's it, is because to him, he wants to do it, so it shouldn't be wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's not
And
the act of the pedophilia that he's upset about. It's having to hide it.
yeah, it's having to hide it. And that's why you get these bleed off, because it's just like, because if he was actually kind of smart about it, right? Which again, Trump is crafty. I will always say this. Trump is crafty. He's not
Hmm.
intelligent in the way of a person who knows a lot of things, right? He's crafty. And so the problem you have with Trump with this in this case is he hates the fact, because we're looking at 10 years of people telling him, "Oh, you're great, sir. You're amazing,
Hmm.
sir. Everything you do is right, sir." And he could just lie, and people his little his MAGA world backs him up. But on this one, they're not giving him the benefit of the doubt. They're not. There's a significant people backing him up, and it's pissing him off that he's got to try to hide it. So, because if he was smart, he'd just say, "Oh, I don't she worked for me? Yeah, I can't be expected to remember a 16-year-old towel girl. I didn't even hire
Hmm.
that." Ah, I don't hire those people.
I'm the
Like,
boss. Why would I care about
yeah, like,
who's
I
working?
don't hire that. Like, that was the hiring manager. Like, "Well, she did work for you." It's like, "Well, if you say so." You know,
Yeah. Like,
it's like, I
that
mean,
was so many years ago.
Jeffrey and Ghislaine were at Mar-a-Lago, like a bunch of other people were at Mar-a-Lago. I
But
you
no,
know,
but no, he has to make it all about the pedophilia part. It's
yeah,
all about that part for
but
him.
he's mad that it's like that he should be even having to explain this.
Hmm.
So he's in his little diseased mind was like, I got to pretend to be outraged. Oh, he stole her from me. Like
Yes.
she was like, it was because again, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, right? And say, you know, you meant stole as in stolen employee, right? Like you're a software developer. It's like another company poaches you or steals you
Hmm.
to go work for them. I'll say that's what he meant. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that, right? So you're saying that she was an employee of Epstein, not trafficked, not a victim, you know,
But an employee.
an employee.
Hmm. Like, she willingly did this. Like, it was her choice to get trafficked and violently abused and raped, because that's what it is. Underage kids, kids cannot have consensual sex with an adult. It's rape. Like, that's the legal definition of it.
Yeah,
And we need to talk about it like that. And I get that maybe we have to use the word grape to avoid the algorithm genies, but whatever. It's the same thing. That's what it is. and he knew about it, but he's calling them employees. Like, that's sick and fucked up.
Yeah, and I mean,
Way different levels.
he knew. Like, and again, it's if that's what it was, and that's why you're in the Epstein files, then release him.
Mhm. If
You
it's that
know,
simple,
if it's
but it
that,
ain't.
if it's just that, if it's just, oh, she worked for Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and that's where the sex trafficking began. Okay, release it.
Mhm.
I mean, it may look
Yeah,
bad for you, but release it.
yeah. But if you say he poached a girl from you, you didn't know what he was doing with them. I'm not defending. We're not defending this shithead in any way. Don't, obviously.
No.
But like, if you even said like, just it's all about words. Words mean thing, and he knows what words he uses. Like, he's dumb and dying and demented and all of the things, but he's very specific with certain word choices. And when you listen to what he says in the midst of all of the gobbledygook bullshit, there are lines in there that he says and he always means them. He always comes back to the same things. And that soup salad is always to defend himself and
Every
his
time.
view of the world and what he thinks should be right. And it's why that weird, there was a, I think we were talking about it. There was somebody on TikTok or Insta X or whatever, one of the platforms who put out oh, it was Twitter, and they put out a tweet going like, "Oh yeah, back in the '90s, it was okay to like it wasn't weird for 14, but if it was under 13, it's like that's oddly fucking specific.
Wow.
You're outing yourself as like either you were trafficked, and I really feel sorry for you because you should talk to somebody and get some help because that's important. But fuck, like between 13 and 14, really? Like that's what you think? Because if you have to define an age of a child who's a child under the legal age of adulthood, and even that's too close
Yep.
for people our age. Like that's too close. Like you shouldn't be looking at kids like that and going, when they get 18, man, I want that girl. No, man, that that's called grooming. You're a
Yeah, and
pedophile
I
too.
did a I did a longer I either did a video or I don't think it was a live. No, it was a video, and I put it on my Substack when I talked about basically I was dating uh pretty heavily. I was going out like from 18 to about 21, 22, right? So about 4 years. And then I met met my girlfriend who became my wife later, and that kind of all stopped. I'm telling you now, it was not cool in the 90s. Not even a little
Nope.
bit. No. They were young, like all my circle of friends, we looked down on guys and there were guys around that would go after the youngins, right? They liked them young, and we saw them in high school too. There was always a few that were just kind of leering around and
Hmm.
picking up these girls, but you know, no, nobody respected those guys. Nobody.
No, why do you think
You know,
that? Why do you think that in prison pedophiles are on the bottom of the food chain? Like they're the ones, them and arsonists are the ones who get murdered the most in prison because most prisoners don't see arson as a crime. They think you're a joke. And a lot of prisoners have kids themselves and would
yeah,
never do that because even they have a moral boundary. Like they're like, yo, I'll murder people, but I ain't touching no kid. Or like
right.
maybe I'll murder a kid, but I ain't touching no kid. And there's a line, like even for murderers, there's a fucking line.
There's a
And
fucking
now,
line.
and now there's no line with our president, or as I have now called him, our pedodent, because
I
pedodent
th- I think there is though. I think this is for a lot of people. There's that line.
this is the line. Yeah.
We finally reached it, right? Where it's like, hey, what about sexually assaulting women? Well, you could explain that. What about the virulent racism? Well, you could explain that.
Nah.
Yeah, it's the benefit of the doubt on all this horrible ass stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, all these horrible things. And finally, what we have is, you have here's this line. And I honestly think that the miscalculation was they're like, oh, well, we released this stuff, right? They gave him the binders. Remember the
Oh
photo
yeah,
with
those big fake binders with nothing
yeah
in them.
with the fake binders? It's like of all the information that was already available on the internet. So it's
Yep.
nothing new.
And those
It was,
creators were so mad.
of course they were, because there's nothing. You know, it was nothing. And Morgan X just said, pathetic virgin hunters. Like, you have some of those guys, but like back in the day for us, like the way we kind of looked at it, it was you were not man enough to talk to a woman your age or older, right?
Hmm.
You had to go and, okey doke the young girl, like the youngin'. Because again, it's like you could trick them by saying, "Oh, I love you, baby girl," like blah 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 blah. It's like, and so you like to us, you were a piece of shit,
Hmm.
100%.
I knew
Like,
girls in high school who had boyfriends who were in their 20s.
oh yeah,
Like
there's always some,
that's a pedo. That dude's a pedophile. Like those
and it's
girls
like
were not 18.
yeah, and you always, and it was like, oh yeah, my boyfriend's in college. It's like, and our response to that was like, God, he must be a loser, you know?
See, the only time like that excuse ever worked, because I had a girlfriend from high school while I was in college, but we were together in high school. Like
Right.
that's the
If
difference is
she's like
I'm not
you're a senior, she's a sophomore or whatever, and
that's weird.
y'all
Yeah,
kept
like that's
dating.
normal.
Yeah, you kept dating. It's like you stay in touch. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like,
But
fine.
like if you're in college and you just start dating a high schooler that you didn't know
Bruh.
before and didn't grow up with and weren't
Anything.
friends with throughout your childhood and
Ugh.
didn't know them, like if you're just coming at this other random young kid, you're pedo, man.
And I
Keep
mean,
saying it, you're a pedo.
and we did, and that's the thing is we were at that age where, you know, my group that I would go out with, we would have girls that would come out with us that, like we didn't pass them around. They weren't having sex with any of us. But it was just good to have women around you, man, you
Mhm,
know, because it would like, it let other women know that you were safe, right? It's like, oh, you got these other women around you, and we kept them safe. And so some of them would bring the high school girls around. It
mhm,
wasn't my job at 19 years old to tell a 17-year-old girl not to drink. That's the way I looked at it. But we looked out for her. If she got blitzed or whatever, it's like you made sure she got home safe or you made sure she had a place to crash or whatever. And she didn't mess with her, right?
mm-mm.
It was like partying with one of your little sisters. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, in a weird way, like, yeah, there was misogyny in our group. I don't want to get it twisted, but there was a code, man.
Yeah,
There were lines you didn't cross, you
it
know?
is I mean, it is a little misogynistic if you look at it in a like in the bad light, but
Oh yeah.
it wasn't you protect it wasn't like I had friends like that too. We protected our friends. It wasn't I was protecting you just because you're a girl. I should or a female. I was protecting you because you were my friend. And I wanted
Right.
my friends group to be safe. And it just happened to be you were a female too. But like Fred said, we never took advantage of friends like that. You don't take advantage of people. Like you don't just go, oh shit, that friend we had, she blitzed. Let's do that. But yo, dude, like, there's always lines you have to have a moral line and you have to stick by it. And you have to be
Yeah.
willing to stick to it at all times. And I think that's actually one of the reasons we're seeing the manosphere so fucked up right now is a lot of them underneath all of their bigotry and hate, underneath all of the other bullshit, they set a boundary and they stuck to it. And I'll give them credit for sticking to that boundary because it's a really important one. Like
Yeah.
I lose a lot of respect for all the other things too.
Mhm.
But if you touch children, Jesus fucking Christ, you deserve to burn in whatever hell there is and whatever hell you believe in because you're just a piece of shit.
But I mean, it's like it, and even if the women were like, let's just say they were 19, let's say they were 20,
Hmm.
they got trafficked, right?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if they were just over the age or right near the age either. They got trafficked illegally. These women were stolen and trafficked and brutally assaulted in a lot of times. or raped at all times. Like that's literally what happened to these poor girls and young women, and we can't talk about it as, oh, they diddled her. Oh, Trump did something wrong. No, Trump openly fantasizes about having sex with his daughter. Like
Yeah, 100%.
that that in itself is gross enough. Like,
Yes.
yep, you're a fucking weird dude.
Dude,
Uh
seriously. Seriously.
like and it all comes down to belief. Like I don't have to see the Epstein files because I already believe the women that it happened,
Yeah.
but I want to see the Epstein files because it does not exonerate the men. It in fact implicates the men and the women who were involved with it, who did the wrong acts. And yeah, I know there's some legal stuff, like they can't release some things that sometimes because of court cases that are ongoing. Well, too fucking bad. It's time for a court of public opinion poll to go through and these people to be prosecuted in the court of public opinion and the court of law because they don't deserve anything less. They don't deserve
Right.
anything less than to have their lives ruined. And especially if the victims are coming out and saying, release the files, if they say it's okay,
Yeah.
and for national security, has to happen. Like we gotta have these files out because we gotta know who in our power structure are pedophiles or who's funding pedophilia or who's protecting pedophilia. And I bet you a whole bunch of people are gonna go, ugh, and
Yeah.
fucking run away from those fascists who are doing it.
And again, if you're if you had Democrats that protected him, right? Or because honestly, if he was in them, this is something that should have been released before the
Mhm.
election,
Oh, it
right?
should have absolutely been.
The American people had a right to know that their guy was in this, right?
Hmm. From
You
the
know,
get-go, from 2016, these should have come out.
yeah,
Or whenever he got, 2014,
or what?
whatever it was.
At least
12,
before the
years.
2024 election,
Yeah,
you
before the
know,
second time around, like he should have been in jail for the for all of
right?
it anyway, but it should have come out. We need court of public opinion. Like, fuck them. Play hardball.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I like is killing me right now is like, dude, I don't care who's in it, and I don't care if it was covered up. I don't care who ordered it. You know, everybody needs to go down for this stuff,
Hmm.
right? You know, like they absolutely need to go down for this crap.
Yeah. Why are we protecting pedophiles in any way? Why are we not? And the thing is, it's normalizing pedophilia in a lot of really, really bad ways because we're seeing more stories come out. We're seeing more Republicans get indicted for it and
Yep.
kicked to the curb, not politically, but through shame. And I think that's
Yes.
something we were touching on it a little this morning in the Wizards Council about shame. And like when you make people feel shamed, because shame is or sorry, guilt and shame, there's a difference. Guilt is internal, shame is external. Shame is a group pressure. We need to start shaming the fuck out of these people. Because like
Yeah.
you put out a great story, you talked about it, and Lawrence did, is when you stand up to people in a public setting and you tell them no and that their behavior is disgusting and bad, I bet you 5 other, 10 other, 20 other people behind you are going to go, yeah, fuck you, man. You suck.
Right.
And it just
100%.
takes a little bit of bravery and you shame them. And
Yep.
people change their behavior when they get shamed. Like they don't want to be, and you don't want to be shamed all the time. Like there's a reason for one of the guys in our that comes to our protest locally carries a shame stick. He has a big stick that says shame on it, and he just chants it up and down because that's what we need. We need to shame the fuck out of these people.
That's hilarious, man. Yeah, that's freaking that's hysterical. You know, I love that. Yeah, dude. You know, it's interesting, man. Like it's just I think though that this is not going to go away, and it shouldn't go
No,
away. You
no,
know,
I don't think so either.
no. And I mean, it's just it's everything we do from here on out needs to be a yes and. You know, it needs
Yeah,
to be like, well, we're worried. Well, the economy and this numbers lie, right? And the Epstein and release the Epstein files.
yeah. And Trump's a pedophile,
You
and
know,
he's in the Epstein files until we see otherwise.
yep. Let me see if I can.
And And he put in another shitty job losses or uh, the job growth slowed again in the US and bringing it back because he's a shitty ass fucking person. You and I were talking about this earlier, was the jobs reports that are coming out.
Yep.
And these are something too that we have to hit on because they affect all of us. Like the jobs report is our livelihoods. Like I was part of the job losses in June,
Yeah.
like June and July. Like I lost my job too. They reported that they revised the numbers even further
Yeah.
down. We lost or they revised the numbers down 258,000 jobs, which means unemployment rose again from 4.1 to 4.2%. And we lost more jobs than they originally reported. Our economy is slowing even faster than they reported. Like I was
Yeah.
looking at the graph for the economy, it's like big box lines, and then all of a sudden Trump comes in and just nosedives, and it's just stuck and slowly going down. Like
Well,
I
and
wonder what happened in January.
here's two things, right? To what happened, right? Tariffs are what happened, you know. And here's kind of the big deal with all this stuff, right? Is you look at GDP, okay, and you look at like uh Howard Lutnick came out, the Commerce Secretary, and he says, you know, oh, uh, like 3% GDP growth. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, wow. And that's great when you're going from like, negative 0.5%. But the reason for that is because we had less imports. Why did we have less imports? Because of the Trump tariffs. So
But they're
that's
still paused.
right. And so what you have this is like, okay, well, the reason we have less imports is not excitement for GDP, right? It's yes, it technically we're growing in gross domestic product because we're having to buy more things here than we are abroad, right? But that doesn't mean our economy's growing, you know. It's kind of like how deflation can be a bad thing if it's run rampant, right?
Hmm.
So, and on the jobs report, they're okey doking this just like they did with Trump and his loans. That's absolutely what's happening. So, for those of you who are aware, part of the fraud that Letitia James brought against Trump in New York was, you know, he would inflate his property value of his buildings and various real estate properties sky high, astronomical, when he was going for a loan. But when he
Hmm.
would go to pay taxes on that property, pay property taxes, he'd devalue his properties. So you have basically two separate numbers, which is fraud. It's illegal,
Mm.
right? And so this is essentially what he's doing with the jobs numbers. You know, like we had 200,000 jobs in in May. Oh, it blew expectations. And then when they revise them down, it's like, well, it's actually 13,000
Hmm.
gain. And the reason they do that is because if you do that, then nobody goes and looks at the revision numbers.
No.
Everybody just looks at the report when it comes out. But even the report that came out today, um, as they were reading it on Fox News, was only 73,000, which was way below the one. It's below the $115,000, 15,000 mark that they had. So that tells me is like, whoo, they must be bad.
Hmm.
They must
Yeah.
be bad.
Yeah.
You know,
The
because
economy is contracting at a rate we haven't seen since the Great Recession.
and that's why they're playing with the numbers because you are technically not in a recession if it has to be two consecutive quarters of decline, right? And so that's why they're playing with all these numbers is so they can say, "Oh, we're not in a recession. We're not in a recession. We're not in a recession." Even though the corporate media did everything they possibly could under Joe Biden to declare we were in a recession. Oh, recession's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. It's coming. and it never came.
Mm,
You know, we had inflation, which the entire world did, because of the
yeah.
pandemic, you know, and we actually had less inflation than a lot of other countries. Where we got screwed with Biden and everything else, not because of Biden, it's because of these systemic issues that have been going on for decades.
Yeah.
That's where we got screwed.
Yeah.
And
And the sad thing about what Biden did was Biden did a lot of good for our country. He just never marketed any of it in any way. Like that's kind of the problem is Trump is good at promoting really bad things that look really good because he's a fraudster. He lives in a constant state of lie, so he just makes shit up and everything rolls off of him.
yeah, I think with Trump and everyone else, it's like, you know, what you're looking at. Like with Biden, I think the problem with Democrats is like they don't know how to take advantage of new media. Right. I mean, you
Hmm.
see some of that with like Midas Touch and everything else, but it's not directed from the Democratic Party. And then the problem with the Democratic Party is they don't have a coherent message about what they're trying to do, even if they lie on it. Right. Because like with the Republicans, they've got this brand that they lie about everything. Right. It's now they're just not even bothering with the brand anymore. They're not even bothering with the lie, you know
Hmm.
they're going with like, oh, you know um it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to fascism.
Yep. Yep. They just
Like
accept
we
it.
don't like, we're going to cut government spending even though they're actually not cutting government spending.
Yeah, they're actually
Don't.
raising spending.
Right. And so like the lie has gotten so big and so perversive, or perverse, it's you can't even hide it anymore. Can't even
Yeah.
cover it up. you know so I mean, it's, and again, it's like that's why I don't even care about talk about like, like, oh, who's going to run in 2028? Is it going to be Mayor Pete? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
Is it Kamala? I don't care. I'll show up and
Yeah.
vote when the primary hits Colorado. You
Hmm.
know, what I want to
Well,
know is the Democratic Party going to do what needs to be done to say we're breaking away from the money class and this is what we're going to do for working folks.
yeah. And
That's all I'm
having
saying.
and having fundraisers on Martha's Vineyard is not how we do that. Is not how
Nope.
Democrats do that. How they do that is they fund food banks and donation centers and things like that that actually impact local communities and help. They fund clinics and things that people actually need, like things that improve lives or are meaningful. And it all starts at the local level. Is we need to force from the ground up what the Democratic Party message is, because we hear a lot in the news like, oh, the Democratic Party is so poorly ranked, or like nobody likes the Democratic Party. Well, you're right. Nobody likes the National Democratic Party, but Arkansas gained seat, a Democratic seat in this last election in our House. Like it was first time in years that we've gained a seat
Yeah.
on the Democratic side. That means the local Democratic Party is working and people are committed to it and are exercising their rights and are building their civic knowledge to actually vote for themselves. And it's not voting against ourselves, it's having someone to vote for.
Right.
Um, and so having civic engagement like that forces the Democratic Party at a national level then to go, eventually, it's a slow process, but if enough of us do it, they'll go, oh shit, all of our voters are really just into this one thing, which is civic understanding and helping each other and making democracy a communal sport again. Maybe we should just focus on that message.
Well, and
And all the
because
other things come out as part of it, like the Epstein stuff. That's important. We have to talk about that. We have to keep that in mind. Housing and food and farms and all those other things. There's people in the party that are incredibly good at talking about that. We just need a
yeah,
coherent message overall that spawns from local growth and is locally community based.
yeah.
At least that's my opinion. I think we've too nationalized our party and we forget that there's local politics that are important.
I think that's just part of. it's sort of the Fox News effect. It's sort of now. I think what's fascinating about that, where that's changing with corporate media, um, is it's things like this. It's TikTok. It's you're getting new. I was watching a TikTok about a woman from East Texas, and was talking about how their city council and their tri county commission that's on water, because they have a massive water aquifer, right?
Hmm.
And they're basic, and so then basically the guy who okays whether companies and corporate interests can use that aquifer gave like rights to a water company, and then resigned the next day and went to work for them. And they're going to pump out 15 billion gallons of water, a year, like, to sell water. And it's like, now again, if you've been to East Texas, it's not the same as West Texas, but water's a big deal in the South. And so and you've got schools, homes, like all these people in multiple counties that use this aquifer. And the thing is, just like anything else, this company is going to take it for their profits, because you're seeing the same thing in Michigan, right?
Hmm.
They take this water and they're like, "Oh, we're offering jobs, so we don't." But then you're now, that those communities are hurting. Those
Yeah.
communities are left to pick up the mess, and or they become unlivable. You
Yep.
know, so
Or it's
that
things like Hallie Schaffner talks about in Arkansas. She was a family farmer where she and her cousin, it's on one of her TikToks. She and her
right,
cousin tried to buy land that was to expand their farm, just like most farmers do, is try to buy some more land to expand their operations. And they were outbid the fuck out of by a land baron. And then they were made to rent the land from that land baron to
mhm,
farm, and they were charged extra to rent land to farm that they were trying to buy back, which was originally land they owned too. Um, that's the problem. It's
yeah,
the water problem. It's the food problem. We're allowing rich landowners and land barons, or robber barons, as I like to call them now, again, is
yeah,
they're buying everything up and selling it back to us so that or not selling, renting it back to us so that we have to pay extra to use it. It's how
yeah,
what's Toys R Us went out of business.
mhm,
The parent company bought Toys R Us, rented, and they own the company that rented the building. So they made Toys R Us rent the building from their rental company and charged ridiculous prices. And they went out of business. That same idea. They're putting us out of business because we're smaller. We don't have corporate money power.
because I mean, they don't care about like how long this thing lasts, right? So people
Hmm.
siphoning off water from that aquifer don't care if it runs dry, because they'll move on to the next thing. They're freaking locusts, man. They're just it's parasitic. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
and we've seen how this plays out before. You know, and we saw it in the Gilded Age. It's the same model. You know, And for anybody that's been in an area that's, I mean, we saw this in the 50s and 60s too, before you had the EPA. You know, like you go take pictures outside of Cleveland in the Cuyahoga River, where it actually lit on fire because of all the chemical runoff, you know.
Hmm.
And that's what a lot of people forget, is this era that we kind of lived in for a very short period of time, where we had EPA enforcement, we had, government regulations. And yeah, some of them are, unnecessary, or they go a little too far and they kind of get in the way, but a lot of them are very necessary, you know.
Hmm.
And with population growth and everything else, it's like you've got to manage your resources, you know. Like you can't
Yep.
afford to like have, we haven't run into a calamity where we will at some point with climate change and everything else, where you haven't think about, we haven't dealt with this like other countries are right now, right? You look at the horrible situation in Gaza. You look at like in Syria for a long time. What if you had
Sudan, places like that.
yeah, you had a city? What if you have a city or an area in the United States where it displaces 150,000 people,
Mhm.
and now that they can't, it's unlivable.
Or
And they
even
have
on our
to,
own continent, what happens when Mexico City runs out of water completely?
right. I mean, it's, and corporations are not going to think about these things.
Yeah,
You know, they
because
are
it's
not going,
short-term profit.
yeah, they're not going to think about like, oh, well, we got to think 20 years down the road. We got to think about this. We got to think about that. No, I don't care. You know, it's just like it's like Donald Trump and the tariffs and everything else. He doesn't care what this does to the long-term health of our country. He doesn't care that it's putting truckers out of work. He doesn't care that it's putting dock workers out of work or that Las Vegas has saw its sixth straight month of decline in tourism.
It doesn't
And
care.
that doesn't care, you know. And it sucks because it's like you look at the like more hospitality workers voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election because again, he was like, well, I'll just do no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They're like, oh, great. But that was a
It didn't
lie.
happen anyway.
No, not at all.
And what did happen expires is an expiring change too. Like they put it as because they did sort of sneak it in. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it as a tax rebate. Like you get your tip tax back at the end of." Well, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't always get all of your taxes back
No,
that you think you do. You're getting less back than you think you're owed most times because one TurboTax or H&R Block or something like that, they're the middleman in all of this. We had a free system to file our taxes that just got shut off by Trump. Like it
of
should
course,
be so
of course it
easy.
did.
Yeah, it should be so easy to file your taxes that the government does it for you and they just send you money at the end of the year like most other first world nations do. Like they report the taxes, they say this is how much is coming out, and they do it exactly because it's fairly simple math. Like
Right.
it's easy
But
math for
but
them
that
to
would
do.
actually that would actually require us hiring, federal employees to make
Oh,
our lives easier. You
oh,
know.
what a thought.
Oh no. Oh no. But it's government and it's always bad. And it's like, yeah,
The
then why
deep
is it
state.
then why is it every time that we cut government, the robber barons seem to get richer?
Mm,
Why is that? Why is it every time we cut oversight? And why is it every time we cut the entity that is supposed to be that is responsible to us, the American citizens, through elections, that the rich suddenly seem to get more power and we get screwed?
Why is it that when Boeing was able to self-regulate itself these last couple years on airplanes, we started seeing things, doors fly off airplanes in mid-flight,
Hmm.
or things not quite work how they're supposed to? It's interesting how they cut corners when there's nobody there to regulate them but themselves.
What's interesting is I worked in aviation. And so I worked when the 787 came out, the one with the
Hmm.
composite skin, right? And they kept trying to tell us how revolutionary this aircraft was. Like it was so amazing and blah, blah, blah. And, it could withstand this and this and this. And I was like, okay. However, if the belt loader, right? Because basically it's like you put the belt loader, it's like, and it's got these rubber kind of, prongs. Now, sometimes you're not supposed to touch the aircraft, no matter what
Hmm.
aircraft it is. You don't touch it, because you might damage the skin, right? So really what you're looking for with a mechanic is you might see like a lot of these like stickers or whatever. And sometimes it's like it's mechanics tape. You can run it around. And so they determine like based on the dent size or whatever, like because planes have a lot of dents.
Hmm.
It's whether there's a potential for catastrophic rupture, right? Really, that's a skin breach, is what you're talking about. Not so much the dent as if it's going because when you're going up at altitude, it's kind of like deep sea diving, especially at those speeds. You're putting all this pressure on the hull. And so if you have like a quarter sized hole in the skin, which is like aluminum, it'll rip the plane apart,
Hmm.
right? Because it's catastrophic failure. Do that on any other 737, whatever. You touch the aircraft accidentally. Protocol is all right. Stop the load. Pull the belt back. Maintenance comes out. They take a look at it. They go, even if there's no, it's like, yeah, it's good to go. You're fine.
Yeah.
You do that on a 787 because of the composite skin, which is that plane is now out of service because it takes a special mechanic and they have to pull panels off to make sure you didn't damage that composite skin underneath it. And I'm always the dumb jarhead who's like, I like to in those meetings I was always like Brad Pitt and Moneyball, where it's just like, well, yeah, he's a good hitter, and it's like, yeah, well, if he hits good, if he's a good hitter, why don't he hit good? You know. So I was always like, well, if it's supposed to be a better skin, why do we got to do all this extra stuff if it's so much better?
Just saying.
Right. And it turns
Yeah.
out, it
You're the guy
turns
they
out,
throw out the window in that meme.
right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I was the guy who got tossed out the window. But here's the thing. Then they did a documentary on it. And like, because they had all these whistleblowers that at Boeing that they've been silencing. Oh, it turns out that composite skin wasn't so revolutionary and it didn't work as advertised. And that's why they had all these protocols with it that they didn't have with all these other aircraft. Because the other aircraft, you bump it, hey man, they look at it right then and there. They could tell you.
Mhm.
It's like they got their protocols. It's like, oh no, that's good. It's like, or yeah, we're gonna need to take this out of service, and they put a sticker on it. It's like little glow in the dark sticker, and it's a certified mechanics. They've looked at it, and it's cataloged. It's in there. You know, and like they'll fix it. During it's like whether it's safe to fly or not. You know, and 787, whole different breed. It's a whole different pain in the ass. And if it's supposed to be so much better, why ain't it better?
Mhm.
You know,
And and
and
looping it
that
back
and
in. No,
and
go.
no, that's the answer you can ask for a lot of things,
Mhm.
right? Is if Doge is supposed to save us all the money, why didn't they save us money?
Yeah.
If tax cuts are supposed to pay for themselves, why ain't they paying for themselves? You know, if less government's supposed to make our lives better, why ain't it making it better?
If tariffs work, why is
Why ain't they working?
everything more expensive? Not just the price of eggs, not just the price of beef, not just the price of one thing. Everything is more
Everything.
expensive. Everything. Your medical insurance, your medical insurance is set. If you're on the ACA or Obamacare or whatever you want to call it, your medical insurance is set to go up 75% this year. That's
Yep.
almost 100% increase. You're nearly doubling your costs in medical insurance if you're on the ACA. Weren't we supposed to save money?
Yeah.
Why is
I
this
mean,
saving
where's
money?
all that money?
Yeah, and why are we only getting a like $600 fucking tax rebate for all this shit? That's more than $600 I pay. I pay more than that shit every fucking month in taxes. So where's my fucking money? Like,
Yeah.
if we're not getting anything in return, we should not be paying taxes like that. Like, I want my government to work for me, not to hurt me.
Right.
Um, and
And
that's the thing,
again,
and we're losing all this regulation, and it's going to hurt people because
just
that story you were just saying about the airplanes, they ain't going to check that shit when the
no.
FAA doesn't have rules telling them they need to. They're just going to be like,
Mm.
"Yep, it's good." And guess what? Planes are going to fucking fall out of the sky or blow up, and people are going to die. We already
Here's
seen it.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, you look at the dumb stuff that they're doing because you can tell these people they don't know what the hell it's like. It's not some nefarious scheme when you have a transportation secretary whose biggest claim to fame was he was on freaking Road World or Real World Road Rules. You
Hmm.
know, and it's like, you know, it's Pete Buttigieg's fault that we had all these problems. No,
Yeah.
it's the Republicans that constantly voted against these upgrades and these infrastructure upgrades.
Hmm.
They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to take the system we have right now, which is based on radar, and put it on GPS. We've been wanting to do those upgrades for decades, and the Republicans kept saying no because they didn't want to spend the money. Right?
Nope. Because
They didn't
Democrats
want
compromise every time.
they didn't want to stop loss, right? Air traffic controllers, and then put the money in investment to educate and pay for them, which takes years of training, right?
Hmm.
Didn't want to do that. Even though Boeing has said that, and it's self serving, but because of these burgeoning third world markets that are now coming online, right? there's going to be more planes in the air, not less,
Mhm.
because of these destinations. And we're going to have a pilot shortage of 20 by 20. If current trends hold, we're going to have a pilot shortage in this country by 2044 of a million pilots, a million flight crews. That's flight attendants, that's FOs, that's chief pilots,
Mhm.
all that. We're going to have those. We're going to have that shortage, and that's air traffic controllers too. That's why Newark is
Yeah.
such a mess, because we don't have enough staff, and the staff we have, we're burning them out. And what was Secretary Duffy's great idea about a week ago? Well, we need to hire immigrants.
Or
Really?
we could have not fired the people who were working those
Thank
jobs
you.
and just fucking hired more of them.
And
Just
have
like the
and have a
weather guy in
government
Texas.
initiative to train people to do those jobs and pay them good money to do it.
Because
You know,
government is a service. Government's not there to make money. Government's not meant to make money in the things that it provides. They're services. There are money being used for a service for us.
right.
It's serving the people. Like public roads are a service. Police officers are supposed to be a service to the people to protect. Firefighters are a service. EMT is a service. The military is a service. The post office is a service. That's why it doesn't make money. That's why it produces quote unquote losses every year. It's not a loss, it's a service. It's producing our mail and it's publishing our mail and putting information out.
It's in the
And
Constitution.
yeah, like
You
the
know,
government is a service. The problem is we have decided that the government is a business in the US
oh no,
because
no,
we've
no.
been told it's a business.
There you go. I was going to say we've been lied to, right? We've been propagandized to think it has to be profitable, and it doesn't have to be profitable. It's a cost for living in the
Mhm.
society we want to live in, right?
Yes. And businesses, if you hire CEOs, a business mentality is a bottom line, is how
Yes.
profitable are we as a country, which means how much can I cut? How much can I cut and strip and rip away to cost us the least amount to get the most amount out of it? Whereas government is kind of the opposite
Right.
in a lot of
If
ways.
you are fortunate to own, like if you're fortunate to be a homeowner, right? You don't paint your house, and you don't, fix leaks in your roof. You don't, the plumbing. You don't do these things because, well, that'll make my bottom line on my house more profitable in Q2. It's like, no, you do that because it's a cost of living somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
You fix your house and you don't want leaks in the roof, or you want your heat to work in the wintertime so you don't freeze because you have to live somewhere.
Hmm.
Society, we have to live here. There's a cost associated with living somewhere. We want good roads. We want our kids to be educated, because I don't want to live in a society of dumbasses. You know,
Hmm.
we we have, I want post office so we can communicate. You know, I
I want
want
the
help.
internet. Because
Yes,
we made that shit and it should be a service for us.
right. I want electricity. I want people to have access to clean water. I want people to have access to good food. These are costs of living in a society, because when we don't have these things, or when only a certain few have these things, we run into problems.
Hmm.
Not only ethically, but just functionally. People start getting mad, and then you start having things where it's like, I can't go outside if I have money unless I have an armed convoy.
Hmm.
You have people like walking into a building in New York and try and shooting up the NFL headquarters. You know, you have, Luigi man, you have Luigi, you know,
Hmm.
you have things like that. And that's why we want to pay for these things.
Yes.
You know,
Because I don't want to have things like that. I don't want to have to ever have another Luigi situation because we shouldn't have an insurance company middleman between us and our health. Because as our constitutional guarantee to the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of happiness includes having health and being healthy. And the government is a service, which means it should be proactively trying to make us healthier and proactively trying to help the unhealthy rather than abandoning them. It's like the
100%.
it's like the rounding up of uh, homeless folks that's about to start happening. One, most of those folks are veterans. And I'd say that because most of those folks were given up on as by society and kicked to the curb. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're kicking shitloads of people to the curb in America because we've decided or we've been lied to and gaslit into the idea that America is a business rather than a household. Somebody said it really well is we need to approach America as a household. And in your house, yeah, there's problems. Like Fred said, you have to fix the roof. You have to pay for your utilities. You have
Yeah.
to deal with the fact that sometimes you have family members that you don't agree with, but they're still part of your family and you have to try and make it work somehow. And you can't just kick every family member out because then you're all alone. You have
Yep.
to learn how to understand and grow and get them to understand and grow. And if they won't, then you remove them from your family. Then you do the thing that's needed. And we're at the point where we need to remove them from some folks from the family in terms of your shitty ideas are just shitty. And need to remind ourselves we're not a business. We're family. America is
We're,
a family. Democracy is communal.
we're a country. We're a family.
Yeah.
We're a country. We're a nation. We're not a
Hmm.
business.
Yeah.
You know, we're more powerful than a business. You
Yeah.
know,
It's we the people, not we the
right?
business.
Exactly. Not we the prophet. You know,
Yeah.
like
And the
no.
Constitution is the guarantee for the government that we will not hurt them. It's supposed to be our guarantee as citizens telling the government, these are the rights you will not infringe upon. And
Mm.
if you start doing so, we're going to do what we did in 1776 and we're going to rebel again. Like we're a country of rebellion. We're a country of rebels because we don't want shit taken away from us. Well, sometimes. Some of us like stealing shit, but it's all about sovereignty. There was a lot of it is about sovereignty and owning your safety and your right to happiness and a pursuit of happiness. And we need to
Yeah.
get back to pursuing that I think, by reestablishing what happiness guarantees. And we need to start making service less about what it's restricting and what it's about guaranteeing. Because we always hear about, oh, government restricts you from doing this. Well, maybe government doesn't restrict you, but maybe government guarantees the person next to you is equally allowed to have happiness as you are.
Right. And that's not. It doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. You
No,
know.
I was told when I grew up, I was taught that the First Amendment ended when you put somebody else's life in danger and it became a threat of violence or came into violence, either by that person or somebody else. That was what I was taught the First Amendment was
Yep.
it protected you and you from the government and the government from you. But the First Amendment stops when you begin to take others' rights away. When you turn the First Amendment into a cudgel of destruction, you don't have the First Amendment. You aren't free to say everything you want. Yeah, we have a speech and debate clause for our congressional leaders, and it is a fairly important rule to have because they should be able to have debate in a guideline that is unintruded by the possibility of slander or suit because some ideas are bad, but they need to be said. Because then you can go, nope, that idea fucking sucks. Let's do something different than that.
Yeah.
But
100%.
they cannot use there should be ramifications from the bully pulpit of any sort of an elected official because you're a public servant. You're supposed to serve. I think we
Mhm.
need to rebrand politicians from being a politician to being a public servant again because you
Yeah.
serve the public. You're our employee. That's the thing is you signed up to be our employee. Now fucking work for us.
But that's the thing is like the only way that happens is you got to be proactive as a populace. You can't just expect these guys, because the money class will absolutely be proactive. And
Mhm,
so if you cede that ground to them, if you're not active in your local politics, if you're not engaged with your fellow citizens, then they absolutely will just, you know, and that's it. Like you have to spend some time, you know, like being active. You have to spend
mhm.
some time being engaged in your community
Yeah.
because
And
you're
it and
not.
it
The moneyed interest will. They will
yeah.
absolutely do that.
Yeah,
you
and it's
know.
going to take all of us being a little uncomfortable and doing things that we haven't thought we would do. Like, I didn't think I'd go to protests, but I have. I've gone to a couple now. I
Yeah.
didn't think I would start a podcast, but here I am talking on the internet, exposing my face and voice for everybody to see and hear and my views and put myself out there in a way that I never thought I'd be comfortable doing and willing to accept the criticism that may come with it. I'm lucky. I haven't experienced a lot of the anger and hate that can come with this job. Not yet, but
100%.
I know it's coming and I've prepared myself for it because I know everyone in this community and everybody else here has my back. Because that's what we're building is we're the start of the community here. The next step is then doing it, is actually moving into the action phase and engaging and doing it in your communities and consistently doing it, but not asking for anything in return from it.
Yeah.
Helping your
100%.
community doesn't need to be something that you get like a monetary return or something like that. Just going and doing it, opening a local food bank and asking your friends and then or neighbors in the community, hey, can you come help me support this? I'm really doing it because I know I've had food insecurity before and I want to make sure others don't. I bet you 99% of the people that you meet will want to do that
Yeah.
because that's a community action that reminds people that we care about each other. And then later you can come at it and be like, hey, maybe I'm running for something. Would you support me? Like, you know me as this person who's coming in, just help the community. Now that I'm thinking about becoming a public servant, would you support me because this, and this, and you know I'm going to help you. I want to bring that somewhere else.
Right.
Local
100%.
seeds reap rewards unknown.
Yep. 100%. Well, man, I got to jump. I
Yeah.
appreciate you jumping in at the last second with me. And, you know,
We'll pull Mike in when
yeah.
he's not right on with Joe.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And we're
No.
working on trying to get Joe Walsh in here too. I know Joe has some opinions that are a little outside of a lot of our communities' perspectives, and he's a bit of a hard hitter. Um, but I'm welcoming Joe. We're trying to reach out to Joe because he's someone who's learning and he's someone who cares and he's someone who's made a transition from hate to shit. I fucked up. I was a bad dude. And he's pretty much said that. He's owned to it. And yeah, he has some views I don't believe in, but we're a big tent. We have to be willing to not purity check ourselves on everything, including issues that are really, really, really close to us. We
Right.
have to be willing to see past our own biases too, because Joe's going to say some things when we do get him on the show. I know Joe will say things that others are offended by or uncomfortable with. He has a different opinion on trans rights or trans people in sports than I do.
Yeah.
I don't hate him for it. I think
No.
he has room to grow and improve, but I'm not going to question him right now because the
Right.
importance for us right now is we have to win our democracy back and keep those things in place. Because I'm not compromising on the fact that trans people, gay people, straight people, everybody in between deserve rights and sovereignty fairly. But I am willing to bend a little because we're like trees. We bend in the wind when we need to. We're flexible as we need to be so that we can have a big tent, so that we can live with each other because you don't always agree 100% with your friends. So why do we have to agree 100% with our political party?
I don't think it's so much as bending, and I don't think it's to Lisa's point. We're not throwing anybody under the bus. It's not that.
No.
What it is who's gonna so what's gonna get you closer to your goal? Who's gonna do
Yeah.
that? Right.
Yeah.
And that's the way
Brian
you have to
Tyler
think
Cohen
about it.
says it.
Yeah, that's what you have to think about, right?
Hmm.
Is is it gonna be Trump or Marco Rubio or JD Vance, or is it going to be whoever the Democrat is?
Yeah. Is it
Because
going to be Joe
and
Walsh
this is where
and Hallie Schaffner, people like that? You don't agree with them all the time, but they're better than the alternative by a lot.
well, and that's the thing is it's not just Newsom, it's pushing, right? You
Mhm.
know, too often, it's like if everybody in this conversation is looking for a candidate that's going to fit all of your criteria, you ain't never going to find them. And we're all never going to agree on who that candidate is.
Mhm.
It's not like we're not going to. And the biggest problem that I see on the left is we're not a big tent. We're a bunch of little tents in a big field. We need to be a big tent. We're a bunch. It's like, well, like somebody, one of my posts when we talk about Joe was, well, he supports Israel, so all Democrats need to be booted out of the party that support Israel. It's like, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. There's a huge Jewish population in America and non-Jewish population in America that
And
support
and
Israel.
again, like, are you trying to what good is
Who are
that
you
going to
trying to
do?
win over doing that?
And it's again, you have a large percentage of American Jews, and you have a large percentage of Jewish folks in Israel that do not support what their government's doing, right?
Hmm. But I
Because
can separate the government from the people.
just as we would be mad, right, at someone saying, "Oh well, Americans are no good," they have Trump as president.
Hmm.
There's a whole bunch of us that don't support this fool,
Yeah.
right? That want him gone, want him in jail, right? And so the thing is, when it comes to politics, is like absolutely you don't back off on your beliefs, you don't back off on your principles, but you keep pushing for them, right?
Hmm.
So let's say it is Gavin Newsom. And let's say there is this trans stuff with the athletes. It's like, no, man, we're not playing with that. Like we're not gonna have this pass. We need this done. You know,
Hmm.
we want this, right? That's the thing is like you fight hard and then it's like, okay, we moved the ball down the field. Cool. We got more fight. Let's go. We got to keep going. You know,
Hmm.
it's like we got, I support Israel's right to exist. I support Palestine's right to exist. I do not
Exactly.
support Netanyahu. He needs to be in prison for war crimes. You
Exactly.
know, and I want Hamas out of Palestine, just like a lot of Palestinians want Hamas out of Palestine. You know, these warmongers that are not because again, Hamas is not in Gaza.
Hmm.
They're in Lebanon. They're in other places. They're not dealing with this. Starving a populace is not going to get you what you want, right?
Genociding a group of people doesn't get you what you want. In fact, it creates more hate and more terrorism.
And
And
that's
they're fueling terrorism by doing it. And I'm going to say this. I And I can say this clearly, just like Fred said, I support Israel, but I do not support Netanyahu or the government of Israel. There are many, many beautiful people who live in Israel. I
right.
equally support Palestine and their right to exist. I do not support Hamas in any way because they're a terrorist organization and their stated goal is to kill Jewish people and eliminate us. Like, why the fuck would I support a group like that? But
But
if you
there's
keep killing people, you're going to grow them.
right.
Like, that's not the way to do it.
No. And the thing is the problem we have now is we have a president that's not gonna, grab Netanyahu by the collar and say, "Hey, knock that shit off."
Mhm.
You know, and we don't have we need a movement, and it's growing to say, "Hey, I support Israel's right to exist, but knock this shit off with starving
Mhm.
Palestinians."
Mhm.
You
And you're
know,
starting to see it a lot, especially on the Israel issue, there's been now two internal Israeli human rights groups have reported inward genocide, that's what the Israeli government is doing. More governments are moving to identify Palestine as a state
yeah,
internationally. And that's huge. But going back to like the international thing and like feeling isolated and alone, we hear this comment all the time. Like, I think you talked about it, was like somebody was talking about it, is like they were talking to a friend in Australia, and the Australians were like, "Yep, well, you voted for it, so why are we going to care?" Well, because the US has cared about all of you guys for so many fucking years, it would be nice if you guys cared about us a little. Like, you're supposed to be our allies. Just like friendships are a two-way street. You have to
because
care
because
back.
it because here's the thing: whether you care about it or not, it's going to come to your doorstep.
Yep.
We're
Like, we
all
didn't,
we
not
are
all of us voted for it, but it's fucking here. So support us when we
we're
fight against it.
we are connected in this world. It is
Mhm.
going to come to you no matter what, right? Why should I
Yes.
care about Gaza? because it will come to you no matter what. We like it is ripples outward, right?
Hmm. It's the butterfly effect.
Because again, all right, you don't care about it, you know, and then you're gonna find yourself with American troops over there supporting a genocide,
Hmm.
wondering why the hell does this
And
happen? You
now it's
know,
our fucking problem.
yeah, or even a cleanup is our problem because instead of doing what was necessary when before it became up as this problem keeps growing and growing, right? Oh, well, we'll just displace them. Okay, so you're going to make it everyone else's problem in the region. That's not going to be problematic. That's not going to piss off everybody else around that already didn't like Israel. That's going to piss them off even more. And
Hmm.
now you get them good reason. Like, besides all the needless suffering and deaths that are going to happen, right? And when we bombed Iran, right? And here's the thing: is the more I've studied about military history, the more I served, you know, the like in foreign policy, especially living through the GWAT, the Global War on Terror. Violence rarely leads to good outcomes.
Hmm.
Rarely does. Sometimes you need to do it because it's the least bad of all options. But as a student of history, I can tell you, it very rarely leads to good outcomes. There's very few good wars. You know,
Hmm.
um, maybe World War II counts as one. Maybe the Civil War, right, in the United States, but all the other few are usually expansion, resources, blah blah blah. That's it, and they're brutal, and they always lead to more violence. Violence leads to more violence.
And the
So,
only reason World War II was a good war is because we won.
right. And bombing Iran, okay, they still have nukes, and now they're giving more drones uh to the Russians, and they're being used against Ukrainians.
Yeah, and Ukraine is getting hit harder and harder every day, and we don't hear about it in the news anymore
Right. And
because
so because our punk ass POTUS, decided he wanted to bomb Iran and fucked up, you
Mhm.
know, and
If you're
telegraphed
going to
when they
do
were
something
coming.
like that, you hit it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, which is what the generals recommended. He said, "No, I know what we're doing. Blah blah blah. We do it
Yeah,
once."
yeah,
You know,
fucking
and it
idiot.
and again, like if Kamala was in the presidency, would there still be problems with Netanyahu and Israel and Palestine? Yeah. I damn
Hmm.
sure bet you there wouldn't be no famine, you know.
I bet you there wouldn't be a manufactured crisis in the U.S. about food, or we wouldn't have cut our most important diplomatic and political asset of USA. Like
Now
people keep talking about. Oh, so
now
hold on. People
no.
keep talking about soft power, but like we cut all of our soft power.
And again, would she have recognized you know, uh like Palestine? Maybe not, but we're not having the situation we are now,
Hmm. We
you
wouldn't
know.
have Mike Huckabee as our ambassador to Israel. Uh,
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, the guy who's like a Zionist because he's wanting to bring about revelations for Christianity in the Bible because he's freaking out of his mind.
he's a
You know.
dominionist, to be in
Yep.
fact.
Yep.
He wants that dominion.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
And,
nuts.
and they're absolutely nuts. And so, but he's the guy in Israel, right? So
Mhm.
he's cheering this on because, back in the day, so there's a concept in religion. I'll jump off at the top of the hour. Um, they called it forcing, right? We're talking ancient, we're on the time of Jesus.
Mhm.
And so what it was this idea of forcing, and you still kind of see it with the Dominionists, is followers of these cults, right? These apocalyptic cults that were going on at the time, would go out into the desert, right? A whole bunch of them. And they put themselves basically into harm's way because they were trying to force the deity to save them, right? Because they wanted the deity to reveal himself or herself and they're like, okay, we'll put ourselves in harm's way so we have this miraculous, And that you can guess how it usually ended, right?
Didi didn't
And
come and save him very often.
right. And so these people that want this war in Palestine, these evangelicals, these dominionists, like Nick's talked about, they're doing a version of forcing. They're going to force revelations. They're going to force Armageddon, right? And this is what's going to bring it about. So this is why they have this crazy worldview of, well, Trump and Netanyahu, they're the anointed ones. God's working through them to fulfill prophecy. No, fool. There's just people going to starve and they're going to die. That's it.
Mhm.
It's just suffering and calamity. And that's all it
Yeah.
is. It's little babies who are starving. And here's the thing, you know it's bad when the babies are starving because guess what parents do? They usually feed the children first before themselves because they need less food than the parents do, right? And so but they need the food more.
And you're
And so
wired to protect your young.
right. So if you're seeing children starving, it's really fucking bad.
And
You
even
know.
Trump acknowledged that. Even Trump saw the picture. Like he was questioned about it, and some reporters are finally starting to brave up a little bit on this, and they need to do more of it.
Yeah.
Especially if you have access to this guy, you need to be fucking doing it every day, like asking. But somebody brought up, I think it might have been Caitlin Collins, brought up
Yeah.
a picture of the starving kids and asked him about it. And Trump was like, I didn't know that's fucking basically, that's horrible. I need to look in because there's something about Trump that he has a fixation on children.
Oh
It's
yeah.
sick and it's disgusting, his fixation. But if it helps save some starving kids in Palestine right now and it maybe stops further genocide, let him stop it. Like, I'll give him that. If he can stop it, he won't. He's not going to. He's
Well,
never going
and
to.
here's the problem for Israel, man, is if they do this, right? If they do this, you are forever linked with a genocide.
Mhm.
You have completely lost the moral high ground.
We can never, ever again say never again as a Jewish people because of what
You
Netanyahu and the government is doing right now. Like,
the
we have
and
lost it.
even if you are successful, even if you get Gaza, even if you get the West Bank, even if you push every single Palestinian out of the Jewish homeland, you are now no better than the Nazis.
Mhm.
And that is what you might as well be the Fourth Reich at that point.
The problem with promising an ethno state is the only way to an ethno state is genocide. The
That's
only
it.
way you can get to an ethno state is through genocide. People will not willingly leave their homes because you say you have more right to the land than they do. Well, they're living on it. You're going to have to move them somehow. And that's what the Israelis are doing. They promised to put them like in safe areas and then they bombed the fucking safe areas. That is literally what genocide is about. Is you
Yep.
target groups of people, put them into concentrated areas, and then you kill them. They have apartheided and then murdered. And so we have to acknowledge that. And forever, the US is going to be associated with this, whether we like it or not, because we are providing arms to them. And we have not said no yet. Um, and we have to be willing to say no. And we're starting to see that. There's movement in the Democratic Party now because even APAC is starting to admit a little bit that this doesn't look good. And if
No,
anything,
it's
APAC is out there for its own survival. And if that survival ties American Jews to genocide, the anti Semitism and hate crime rates in this country are going to skyrocket.
and I mean it's you know, and I get it. I mean, I get that's why I mean anti-Semitism is a very real thing. It is absolutely it is one of the oldest, bigotries and one of the most horrible in the history of humanity. And but at the same time, we can't use that to justify
Hmm.
supporting genocide.
Correct.
You know? And we have gotten to the point now where it's enough. No,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
we got to stop this madness. We got to stop this starvation tactics. We got to stop this shit. You
Yeah.
know, and so it's gone beyond, and it's in. You know, you're not. We got to stop being bull. Well, then you're saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Of course I do, but they don't have a right to genocide an entire people.
Yep.
You know,
Easy as that, right?
just like we didn't have a right as the United States to commit genocide against the Native Americans, to
Correct.
enslave African Americans, right? To
We don't have
have
the right to put,
The Chinese Exclusion Acts. We didn't have a
yep,
right to do any of that, but
or the
we
Japanese
did it,
internment camps,
right?
or the death camps that we're doing now. We don't have a right to do any of that.
Right.
Doing
Or
it anyway.
the discrimination against women, the discrimination against LGBTQ folks. We do not have a just because we're a nation, we do not have a right to do this. We have a right to exist as a nation. We do not have a right to bring oppression and fear and exploitation and death to other people. We don't,
Mhm.
right? We
We
have a
don't,
right to
but we,
defend ourselves, sure, against other nation states that wish to do us harm, but we do not have a right to do these things.
yeah.
To,
Biden, and to Biden's credit, President Biden's credit, when at the time of October 7th, he told the Israeli government, do not make the same mistake we did after 9/11 and
yeah,
continue it. But they ignored us. They ignored him because they were going to anyways. This is the war that Bibi wanted. He wanted to do this. He wanted to kill all of them, and he just needed an excuse. And he funded Hamas anyway. So let's be totally honest. He's part of the reason this happened. He manufactured this crisis, which I'm gonna use that word, manufactured, because guess what? We're manufacturing crises in our own home to do the exact same thing because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
so if anything, you want to support Israel, okay, support the opposition to
Hmm.
Bibi. Support
Yeah.
the opposition to this criminal government. Just like we have a criminal government, we have a regime that is unlawful and in power, so do they.
Yep.
Support the opposition. That's what we need to do. Right?
Exactly. We rise
So
together, right?
absolutely. Anyway, brother, I appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah, man. Loved
Thank you
it.
so much.
Thanks everyone
And
for joining us too.
thank you for joining in. And I will see you guys later. Enjoy your
Later.
weekend. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.